Hello and welcome to another edition of Luminar Coffee Break. I'm your host, Manelli. Now our topic today is how to capture water droplets that just look wow. Now I do want to start out and point out that if you're new to water droplets, if the water drop photography, it can get really frustrating. The whole key here is not to get frustrated. So approach it just like you would any other genre of your photography. If you're a portrait photographer, think back how you were when you first started taking portraits, and then when you introduce studio strobes, think about you're learning what you had to do for that. The same concept is going to apply for water droplets, and then I'll show you how I use Luminar to capture them and make them look even better. All right? Now, I apologize for the late 15-minute start. Other things came up, and we had to push it back a little bit. So, Gary, there's no, you wondered why? There's no mysterious reason other than we were running a little behind. All right? So, let me dive right in. Here we are with this water droplet. Now, I got to say, when my buddy and I first did these, I thought, wow, this is so amazing. This is really easy. Oh, look at this. Oh my God, I love it. This is great. I'm having a good time with this stuff. And then, all of a sudden, let me get to the second shoot we did. Here's the second shoot I did. You know what? Yeah, I'm embarrassed to show you these, but look at this. It took forever. And so I'm going to give you some of my advice on doing this. Remember, I'm not an expert at this keyword yet, because my attitude is if you want to get good at anything, you have to apply luck. And luck stands for L-U-C-K, laboring under correct knowledge. So if you have the luck, it's because you found the right people to labor your energy under to get their knowledge. So you're lucky to find the knowledge from people, and there's so many people in this industry that are absolutely phenomenal at water droplet photography. All right? So, I don't want to show you that yet. So this is what started to happen. Towards the end of the shoot, stuff like this started to appear. All right? So, and I got to be honest, I thought it was a waste of time, but then I remembered, instead of me knowing how something works, now I can tell you a dozen ways water droplets don't work. And once I gather a cohesive thought with that, I'll put it down and write it out into an article to let you guys see it. But here's a good example. I look at this and I started seeing a face. All right? So I'm going to come over here to my templates. And I'm pretty sure you've seen me do this. Under my templates, I created a dark and rich template. I used dark and rich as the starting point. And then just tweaked it ever so slightly, boom, to achieve this. Ooh, look at that. Now, can you start to see the face here? I forget what that's called. If you know the name of that term, like when you see a human's face in rocks, a tree, or this, I forgot the actual terminology of it. It's called. But if you guys know that answer, pop it in there. So I started to see this and thought, okay, well, that's not bad. Ooh, look at this one. It started taking a turn for the, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, this looks like, here's an ear. Here's something that happened to the poor guy's face. Let's see what dark and rich does to it. Here it comes. Look at that. All right. So I'm off to a start. And I thought, all right, so this looks pretty good. However, it's not a finished product. So here's where the finished products come in. And let me get to the completed one. Once I started doing this, what I did, let me do the original one. I believe it was one of these. Oh, it was right here, the bear. Ooh, look at that. I started seeing a face, and I thought, hey, if I just copy half of this face here, flip it onto the other side, now I can create something. Oh, let me get back. There we go. Now I can create something unique. And that I actually like. And then I talked to our co-host, Angela Andrew, and we started to experiment. This looks like the Ant-Man. I just chopped off the head of the bear, right? And then look at that. And here's how it started. So, 1, 2, 3. Let me move in a little bit more. There we go. And I'll hide myself. So here's the original. Look, that looks like a little bunny. Here's the second one. Boom. And then, by applying some of the editing to it, look what we're able to do. So what I'm getting at is, don't throw away your photos. These, to me, were trash photos. But look what we did with them. This one right here, look, there's a little, looks like a little bunny. This one here, we joked and called it Wall-E from the movie Wall-E. Let it render. There it is. And then this is Angela's favorite. She named this Kissing Bunnies, because it looks like two little rabbits are here. And then, of course, other people started seeing different faces, hearts, and so on into this. All right. So, the point I'm getting at with this here is what I saw as a failure. This right here. Let me pull it down. What I saw as a failure, and I thought, you know what? Let's take this right here, and let's take this right here, and at least use Luminar to make it look better. And that's what Luminar did for me. Now, granted, I'd go around and erase all of this here, and then we came up with something totally unique here. All right. So again, what I did was this: using Photoshop. That's it. Thank you, Gary. Gary, you're right on the ball today. So I used Photoshop. Again, I decided to cut it right in half, flipped it over to the other side. Now, a trick with that was in Photoshop, or I'm sorry, in Luminar, I made it the best that it could look. Then I made sure that on this side, the side I was copying, I removed any of the blemishes that we didn't want, like in this case here, any of these artifacts that I did not want, I removed. So I only wanted to do it one time. Copied that section, flipped it over to here. Could I do that in Luminar? No, because Photoshop is a graphics program. It's designed for graphics. This is a graphic. Luminar is designed to enhance images as an image editing program, and it did a phenomenal job doing this for me. So now I needed the power of Photoshop to use pixel-based editing to copy, flip it, here it is, all right? Now, let me bring down to here. Let me just show you, for those that are wondering, the setup that I'm actually using is right here. It's called the Myops. So, and you could do this with a bag, right? There we go. You could do this with a bag, you know, just pop a hole in the bag, maybe put a little tape or duct tape on it first so it doesn't start pouring out while you're preparing. But as soon as you're ready to shoot, pop that hole in the bag, either hold it and then get ready with a trigger on your camera, let go, and time it. The moment it's at water, boom. But you're not going to have a whole bunch of control. Trust me, this one here is like $120, $110. You can find some of them used at B&H and other places for a little bit cheaper. There's Pluto. There's a few other ones you can check out. And my suggestion is I would start with something like this first, only so you don't get your frustration. It's like shooting in an aperture priority mode versus pure manual mode when you're first starting photography. You know, that little assistance. So what I did do, and I found here, which I'm using a pie plate. I don't even know why I even have one, but Instead, I went on Amazon and bought these black plastic drawer organizers. So I bought those, much better, because the black, when the reflection from the black itself made it look much better. So I'm experimenting with those. So yeah, I'm just giving you my whole little setup here. And now, this right here. When you put stuff in the droplet, the problem is if it's too thick, then it doesn't come out properly. It just clogs up and a big strand comes out. However, if you were to put, this is glycerin over here, and we used Dawn dish soap, and of course, we used the food coloring. By doing that, I put the dish soap down into here. And the reason for that is it made that thicker. So when the water hit, we didn't get as much as the crazy splashes. It was more controlled, and the spout was a lot taller, all right? The purpose of the pencil, let me go to the top. That's the purpose of the pencil right here. You want something to focus on. So what I would do, I had my buddy Russell with me. He sat there and he held the pencil and let the water drop on the top of the pencil. And when he did, then we know that was dead center. And then from here is where I took pictures to make sure. And you want a pencil or something that has words on it. So this way you can focus and make sure it looks its best. But like I said, from this first shoot, I got to be honest, I got overconfident and I thought, oh my God, that stuff is easy, piece of cake. Even with the exact same settings, it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. And that's one last thing I should mention is the height distance from here to here. Mine was way too high. We brought it way down to about 18 inches, 12 to 18 inches. And depending on who I speak to, each of them kind of give me their own style. So once I get this mastered, that's my goal. Once I get this down to where it's a constant repeat, and boom, in a matter of a second, we can get this down, then I'll write out all the instructions so people can get the same results. Follow A, B, and C. Here's results. Great. Now be creative. Now that you have the base down, let's see what you can add to it. All right? So the point of today's lesson was I wanted to show you how you can get beautiful water droplets. And again, you saw that first time out that my ops did look, these were the first shots. Follow the instructions, did a pretty decent job. And so Gary says, what does the MyOps do? So the MyOps is that piece of that tool right here. I'm sorry, I should have zoomed in on it. This is a MyOps Splash. So what the MyOps Splash does is this. You connect your flash. Oh, let me share my screen. Here we go. So the MyOps Splash is you fill the top reservoir with water and food coloring. This is the flash. This, let's say, is the power. This is the camera. So what happens is you connect it, and then you use your phone, which I didn't put in the picture. You use your phone to dial in how big do you want that first splash to be. So it goes by millimeters. So the first one, how big do I want it to be? I think we set that to like 25 to 75. That's the size I want the first one. And then as it's going down, you're able to tell, hey, I want you to delay the second drop so it gets that collision. Let me get to it here. So try to get, oh, here we go. I'm already in good view. So the second drop, I want that collision. And then fire the flash. So as you can see, like right here, the first drop came down, but the delay was so long, the second drop didn't have time to make a collision. So you play with the amount of time. Sorry, you play with the amount of time the delay is, and what that does is you time it. It hits that water. When it comes back up, boom! You want the second one to bounce and hit that splash. That's what's so cool about the MyOps, because you're able to let it do it for you. And one more piece of advice on that is we did use our cell phones in slow motion video. So we would do the slow motion video, we'd watch it, and you could actually see it hitting. And a couple of them, as soon as it went to hit, the flash went off, so it froze the water drop in midair, and you realized, oh wait, the flash went off too soon. Or if it hit, made this beautiful mushroom cloud and all this other stuff to it. I wish they had actual names for these. It did this really cool thing with it. Then what ended up happening, the flash was too late and it didn't get it. So there are so many things to learn about this, but the takeaway on this is please be extremely patient with it. At first you're gonna get frustrated. 2 hours will go by like it's nothing. Right, Russell's here, because Russell was in on it with me. 2 hours go by with it, and you have no idea where those 2 hours went. And you're like, wow, this is addicting. But once you start to get into it, start jotting your notes down, and it'll help you know either what you can do or what you can't do for the next exercise. All right? But you did see, let me pull it over here, but you did see how by using Luminar, that just completes the process. You know, whether it's a really, so this here would be considered a bad shot. These ones here are considered better shots, right? So you just decide, wow, look at that. Out of something hard, you know, the catching the water droplets, I got onto something really, really simple to do. And that's by using Luminar. So it's the same concept with portrait photography, landscape. When we came up through, we had to learn Photoshop and photography at the same time. That was so complicated. Learn one, master it, move on to the next. Luminar gives you that ability to be able to do quick and fast edits like you just saw me do here and make your images look great. You can focus on the photography. All right, so Jerry again with some of the great questions. So yes, you have a couple options. If you're not using a macro lens, we used a macro lens on these. A macro lens will let you get really, really close up to the water drops. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio. If you don't have a macro lens, you could use like a telephoto lens, but just remember that's close-up photography. And what I mean by that is a macro lens, typically a 1-to-1, means that if you took a picture of a quarter, you can put a quarter on it and it'll be the same size, all right? With the telephoto lens, you're not gonna be able to get as close. You have to, because like a Nikon 70-200 lens, for example, usually needs like 6 feet of distance to focus. So in this case here, depending on which telephoto lens you have, will dictate your distance that you have to be in order to focus. That's where that pencil comes in. Jerry, great question on that. Russell added xanthan gum. I think people just like saying that word. So xanthan gum, I had no idea it was real. That thickens a very little. We're talking not even like a spoonful, teaspoonful, not a tablespoon, teaspoon, a teaspoon, and you slowly sprinkle it in, let it thicken the water, and that gives you some all cooler results. We also used milk. So we also used milk. That worked out great. Not in the MyOps, not in the water drop. We put it in the base unit, so when it hit and came up, the milk is what you'll be seeing as a splash. All right? Awesome. Well, let me pull up these comments. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be rude. Let's see, one moment. Yeah. Good. So, yeah, so these are the comments I was looking off onto the side, and just to see what everyone is saying. Awesome. Yes, Jerry, thank you so much for that. And let me see, do I have others? Someone just, yes, the usability mind lets you lure into buying something. Yeah, like that MyOps that I bought. Good job. All right, guys, that's great. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for sticking around and for joining us. Again, apologize for the 15-minute extension on this one, but I hope you learned a lot from it. And leave comments below. Is this something you really want to start picking up on? If it is, I know Russell, my other buddy, Bill, and a few others are suggesting I spend a little bit more time on this. I have no problem, but if I do, then I got the names of a couple really, really incredible experts that I'll pick their brains on and maybe even have them on as a guest. But I would love to get this to where it is so much quicker and easier for somebody just starting out, so you can get rid of all the stuff that doesn't work, start on the stuff that does, and then get creative and bring it back into Luminar and make sure your editings just look amazing. All right? Guys, thank you so much. Great interaction today. And I'll see you at the next coffee break.